Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Just a reminder, if you are watching us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn, then you can comment on the video and we'll be able to see any questions that you might have. So get your questions ready because our construction leadership panel is next. I'm going to pass things over to SCSA President Colin Alford to introduce and moderate our construction leadership panel. Colin?
Great. Well, thanks, Kelly. This has been great so far, and really appreciate folks that have tuned in, and the content has been fantastic. So I have the privilege of moderating a panel of some really terrific folks who are leaders in their field. And, in terms of an objective here for our organization is really our mandate is about creating programs and options like this to help create a safer, healthier, more profitable industry in the construction sector in Saskatchewan, and really trying to find a way to prevent avoidable losses and turn things into opportunities for more productive organizations. So I want to welcome and introduce to you 4 people who will be joining us on our panel today. If you're able to bring each one of them up, Janis Dubreuil. Janis is a professional engineer and partner with Allan Construction. She's worked in the Saskatchewan construction industry since graduating from the University of Saskatchewan and has extensive board experience, including the Saskatoon Construction Association, the Saskatoon Construction Association, Saskatoon Industry Education Council, and Women Entrepreneurs of Saskatchewan Advisory Committee. So welcome, Janis.
Thank you, Paul.
Colin Alford. Colin Alford is the general manager with Westridge Construction, just around the corner from me, here in Regina. They construct commercial and civil engineering projects across Saskatchewan. Colin has a degree in civil engineering from the University of Saskatchewan as well, and has been in the construction industry since 2007. Colin's experience includes various commercial, healthcare, recreational, civil, retail projects ranging upwards of $250 million in value. So a big note here, Westridge just recently won 2 Paragon Awards from the Regina District Chamber of Commerce for their community involvement and business of the year. And so congratulations, Colin. I was there to witness that. So great having you. Nick has been with All-Rite Mechanical for almost 20 years in the roles of estimator, project manager, and is now the general manager of All-Rite. During that time, he's worked in a variety of projects, primarily for commercial, institutional, and industrial clients. Nick also volunteers his time giving back to the community and has been the president of the Regina Construction Association, as well as a director with the Saskatchewan Construction Association. So welcome, Nick. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And finally, a colleague of mine, Mr. Stu Niebergall of the Regina and Region Home Builders Association. And Stu has been president and CEO, and Stu advocates on behalf of Regina residential construction industry. His efforts have won more than 11 national awards for the association, including Executive Officer of the Year and Home Builder Association of the Year. Stu has his master's in business administration from the University of Regina and is a fellow of Community Shift at the Richard Ivey School of Business. So thank you, Stu. I'm glad you can join us today. For anyone who wants to, if you want a full bio on all of these speakers, make sure you check it under the event section of our website here. Quite an impressive group. So I really appreciate each one of you joining here today. So the plan for the next about 45 minutes here is I'll go around our virtual table here and pose a few questions, but I also encourage you, if you do have questions, to drop them in chat. If we have some opportunity to be able to address those questions and get any of your perspectives on that, I would really appreciate that. But maybe to open things up, it'd be really interesting to find a little bit about maybe your personal or professional background, and wondering for each of you and from your individual perspectives, do you have a personal or professional connection to safety that you can share, and maybe the reasons why this subject in this area is important to you and your company? And Janis, since you're right beside me on my screen, why don't we start with you?
Thanks, Paul. I guess I would like to start with my connection to safety again. As one of the business owners and things like that, is our big push is to make sure everybody goes home safe at the end of the day. Again, I think that's everybody that's on this panel. That's a big one for everybody. On top of that, and on top of all of the crew that we have in the field, in the office, and making sure we have a safe environment, part of the one that ties back to me is I have all of my family also working with us. So, and I want to make sure we have a safe environment for everybody that's out there, along with every other person, again, on this panel. I think that's a huge thing.
Wow, wonderful. Colin, I'll go to you.
Yeah, for sure. It came for me pretty early in my career. There was a couple incidents, unfortunately, that happened that really brought my connection to safety to another level. And it was really, really early in my career, like talking the first year and a half of my construction career. And one, I remember it vividly. I was down in Estevan, Saskatchewan, and four sort of leaders in on the project were all standing talking about the project outside of the trailer, watching a piece of work happen, and a significant safety issue occurred right in front of our eyes. And there was myself, an operations manager, superintendent, and the foreman, and three of the four of us stood there and couldn't, just frozen in time. And I remember just being frozen there. And the one guy, before I almost even came to, our foreman on that project was down the excavation, up a ladder, over the foundation wall, down the other side, and at the person who was injured already. And just that situation, I remember being on that site until midnight that night, working with the investigation team. And that really just gave me a different appreciation for safety. There was another incident that happened a number of months later that resulted in a fairly significant injury as well. And those two incidents really got me thinking in a different way. There was also a presentation I was involved in where a safety representative was giving some training pretty early in my career, and he told a pretty telling story of him, and this is going back 15 years, and I still remember the story like it was yesterday. And he was about 19 years old, from what I recall. He was working up, I believe, on a masonry crew, up high in the air on a scaffold, and was working beside somebody who wasn't tied off for a number of days, and he kept thinking that it's probably not right. And then later in the story, the gentleman said, with tears in his eyes, and this was 20 years after this incident had happened, that he didn't end up saying anything to this guy, and a few days later he fell to his death. And just having that story being told, it just really hit home. And like I said, 15 years later, I remember that story. I could tell you the guy's first name that told me the story. Those were the incidents that happened early in my career that really brought that connection for me.
Yeah, that's powerful. Nick, love to get your personal connection, because I know there's one.
Yeah, similar to Colin's story. It's early on in the career. It's being around a serious accident that kind of leaves its mark on you, that sticks with you, and it's a constant reminder. We had a service tech climbing on the roof of a building and took a spill off a ladder, landed on his head, ended up in the hospital for a while. And when he finally recovered, he was a changed man. And to see that kind of an impact for somebody working within the company, and essentially, like I said, he was different after that, and he's never been the same. And it was heartbreaking to see. And then on top of it, he had a person with him, probably working with us for about 2 weeks, who witnessed that had to deal with that situation. And it was a traumatic situation for him to have to deal with as well. So that's a serious impact. I'm sure I think about it monthly, 20 years later. So, and then another recent incident that's just another great fresh reminder is my neighbor across the street, a nice young lady who babysits my children, really wanted to get into the trades, and within her first week of work, doing some concrete, wasn't wearing her PPE, took a piece of concrete to the eye, and miraculously never lost it. It's probably going to be 3 to 5 years, I think the doctor said, before she'll get full vision back, if she ever does. But you know, the stats on just how frequently young people starting off in the industry get hurt is still too high, and I had a very close, witness to that incident. So, there's constant reminders that hit too close to home, near misses, things like that, just reinforce that we all got to be safe.
I'm going to come to Stu briefly, because Stu and I, we've got our relationship starts in a different connection to the industry than the three of you. All of you have a senior leadership role in running an operation, and see and feel those impacts. You've all talked about something that's impacted you for many years, and these things don't go away, obviously. And so thank you. Stu, for you and I, as I said, we probably have a little different. We're coming from the perspective, not necessarily from an operations side, but really looking at kind of a broader industry sector and seeing things. And not to say that the things aren't personal, but I wonder for you, and even conversations we've had maybe in years past about your professional, personal connection to safety and the reasons why it be, it's of concern to you and concern in the work that you do.
Well, it's a great question, Colin, and you're very right. When you're running an association representing members, you're going to see this all from a different perspective. As an example, I don't run a construction crew, and I don't build anything or develop anything, right? Our work is mostly around advocacy, and advocacy is, from a physical safety perspective, is a pretty low risk work. Having said that, though, the residential construction industry, has a very broad work base, and it's different than the commercial and industrial side, that you have all of these smaller micro sites of construction activity that all come with its own level of risk and its own safety challenges that happen. At the very same time, the marketplace, the home buyer ultimately just doesn't even think about safety. They just assume their home is being built in a safe, fatality-free, injury-free environment, right? Nobody wants to move into a home where they know significant injuries or a death, has occurred. So, it's very important, the communication and the education that we strive to provide our members, to make sure, they're making sure everybody goes home safe every day from the workplace.
Great. Thanks, Stu. I'm going to make a little bit of a shift, because our discussion is really about leadership, but I really wanted to get that personal perspective, professional perspective from each of you, because it's very foundational to the next area of discussion here. And oftentimes we ask people to, hey, what does leadership mean to you? Because I find that word has very personal meanings, and so sometimes the definition might change a little bit from person to person, but it's got some very broad strokes that are going to be the same. And leadership has changed. I've had the opportunity to get to know a couple of you personally over the years, and what I pictured as leadership in the construction sector 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when my dad was heavily involved in the business, to what I see it today is different, maybe a bit more sophisticated, and maybe the demands are different. But I'd like to get from each of you your perspectives on how and what you see is the definition of leadership today for you in this construction industry, and if you may be able to comment on what do you think it means or needs over the next few years. So from today and into the future, and I'll mix it up a little bit, and perhaps Nick, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off on that.
Yeah, leadership to me is, I guess, compared to how it was 20 years ago, a little more empathetic. I was watching the leadership conference from last year, and I think it was Wayne Morski talked about emotional intelligence of leaders today is a little more important trait. And certainly I define leadership as a bit of lead by example. And when that comes to safety, profit can't be aspect of that discussion. I a lot of times go back to, how would I feel having to perform that task? Do I feel safe performing that task? Because if I don't, or if I have concerns, I'm certainly not asking anybody that's working with us to perform that act. And then we got to find ways to mitigate that to a point where it's safe.
Great, thank you. Colin, I'll jump over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. For me, leaders all have results to achieve, right? And to me, being a leader or leadership in general is just guiding and serving the people that you're leading to achieve those results. Creating a vision that others are inspired by, and the vision that people can follow. I really like what Nick said about leading by example, especially from a safety perspective, but I think that's really, really broad in leadership as well. I think leadership in construction looks a lot different than it did 20 years ago. Like you said, I got in the business 15 years ago, and I don't know if it's changed dramatically in that time, but talking with the guys that were in the industry for 30, 40 years when I got in the industry, and even talking with those 30, 40 year guys now, back when they were coming into the industry, leadership looked a lot different, and it was definitely more, call it top down. Now servant leadership has come in as a term that I've heard a lot, and I try to live by in my leadership. And good leaders, you got to be able to relate well with people. They're engaging. Overall, I think the shift in leadership that we've seen over the last number of years has been good. We need to always be careful as leaders to make sure that your emotional intelligence is there, and you're guiding and serving, but also when there are those difficult decisions to make, that you're still able to make them, and call it from a safety perspective, willing to shut things down and issue discipline when required. So you got to have the soft skills, and you got to have the harder skills, and being able to distinguish between those two, and when to use different styles of leadership, I think is really important. And I think that's going to continue. I don't see a need for a huge change in the way people lead. I think the change that we've seen over the last 20, 30, 40 years has been good. I think we're going to see less drastic change moving through the next 20 or 30 years than we have in the past 20 or 30. It's my opinion.
Great, thank you. Stu, I'm gonna save Janis to the end here on this one, but Stu, if I can get your thoughts.
Yeah, my thoughts around leadership are exceptionally simple. My own definition of leadership is take a look over your shoulder, and if anybody is following you, you are leading, and if nobody is, then no, you're not leading. And why I think that's an important way to look at the issue of leadership is, as we all know, in the construction sector, and all I can ever speak to is, the residential side, is, the building science, just continues to increase, continues to grow, and the sophistication of what it's going to take to achieve other public policy goals like net zero by housing by 2030 really needs to be focused on the science of the building science. And to accomplish that, one has to really recognize that creating a safe environment for the building science to take care of most effectively really is part of that leadership that needs to occur in the marketplace, because again, the cost of getting things not correct today, but especially in the future, are going to become very prohibitive. And so I don't see, the leadership around safety, I don't see it disconnected at all from the other goals of quality control and being able to put a great product out in the marketplace.
This is fantastic stuff. Thanks, gentlemen. Janis, your thoughts and part of the reason why I saved you last on this one is partly because of your experiences working with other entrepreneurs and encouraging other entrepreneurs. And so I know certainly you've got perspective from both within the industry, but some touch points outside the industry as well. And so I think that there's probably comes a slightly different package, perhaps. But I wonder what your thoughts would be.
Thanks, Colin. Again, I just want to reiterate that everything my panel said here has been some great comments and things like that. Again, leadership is very important. It's understanding that, again, that's your responsibility for your crews, for the path forward and things like that. Part of that is doing your planning and understanding your responsibilities are huge for you. Again, another big one, and this goes to kind of any industry, is don't assume everybody knows. Ask a question. If you have a question, ask a question. There's never a bad question. And don't assume anybody isn't and things like that. The other one is just, again, taking advantage and learning every day. Everybody out there, you're learning something new every day. There's great opportunities out there. Take advantage of those opportunities. Take advantage of listening to your peers, of listening to your mentors, of taking any of those courses available. All of you to become a stronger out there as a leader and as an individual person. So make sure you grab onto those.
This is a great range of responses on it, and I think folks who are viewing today really do need to take note from each one of these leaders, and the topics of empathy, emotional intelligence, being able to understand that you're guiding and serving to achieve results. Stu, I really appreciate your comments around creating a safe environment for the science to occur, where the innovations to occur. That an environment's got to be has got to be stable and safe for that, and even the consideration on the cost of not getting something right. That we're not necessarily going to have the opportunity to go back and fix it the second time. That's just not that may just not be doable. And Janis, your thoughts on understanding our responsibilities and the aspects and the practices of learning every day. That concept alone has been something that my coaches are continuously reminding me, and I'm continuously going back to find out what else can I learn, what other articles can I read, who else can I listen to, and who can I associate with to make myself better. Not assuming that people know all these things right off the bat. So thank you. Connected with leadership is, and the roles of leaders is really establishing, whether it's by you say it or you put it on the wall or you're actually demonstrating it, as your effect on culture, and as being in those leadership roles. And I'd love to get your thoughts and your observations, both on how you've seen the culture related to safety shift in terms of attitudes, the adoptions of practices, the drop towards dropping injuries and fatalities on work sites, and so what you've seen in terms of change, and where do you think that we need to focus on next? And Janis, maybe I'll get you to start this one off.
I will say we have come a long way. I've been in the industry over 20 years, and there's definitely been some huge improvements that we've seen in the safety. Again, I fully believe a little bit of the top-down structure, that you need to have the top people in the company and the top leaders of those places believing in a good safety culture and practicing a good safety culture and leading with it by example of a good safety culture, because then that does go down, it does trickle down through course there. So again, training is a big one. We've got to keep going out there. We've got to take advantage of any courses that are out there. There are so many different courses that are available. We've got to take advantage and again work from even I call them the young ones in the field, but we have to acknowledge and appreciate that those new ones coming in maybe don't know everything. Mentor them, teach them. I always preach to all of our crew and anybody that I see is somebody helped us get to this stage. We have to pass that forward and pay it forward to the next one. So any lessons that you've learned, pass those on to anybody else. There's no point in somebody making a mistake from something that you can help them get forward or get past by talking to them and showing them. Again, don't assume people know everything. Just because maybe you know it doesn't mean that the newer ones or ones new to the company or new to the industry would maybe know that. So being open, honest communication is huge. So
No, great points. Stu, your thoughts on that? You've been around for a little while here too, so
well, that may be a good thing, or just may make me more jaded at times too, or have built too many biases. I mean, at the end of the day, what is culture? I mean, it is a set of norms, that become the practice of the activity, and again, I look at other aspects of life outside of safety, and and the things that seem to impact culture so greatly is things that you do in your organization that are habitual, right? These are the way we do things. And it takes a lot of work to create a new habit, but it does happen, right? Whether that's voting, whether that's quitting smoking, whether that is any of those items. So that's always of interest to me is how do we apply those habitual practices within the construction area, because again you guys are the experts there on safety, not me, but it does seem that a lot of injuries probably occur because it's been a change in habits, right? Or not actually having a habit of how we do things. So those are kind of the thoughts I have related to culture and safety. It's the habitual practices that happen within the workplace.
Yeah, no, great points too. Thanks, and Nick. If I can go to you.
Yeah, similar to what Stu just said about creating habits, and what Janis was saying about communication, I just found normalization of talking about safety over the past 10 years especially, I've definitely noticed really helped change culture. 20 years ago, when I was working in the field, when I first started, safety was kind of a curse word. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Nobody really wanted to think about it. Everybody assumed that, just do your job, no accidents are going to happen. But as Janis, she talked about assumptions, that a lot of the people coming into the industry, similar to the story I told about the person getting injured in their first week, they don't know better. So, but yeah, I've really found the safety culture just changed. That we normalized it. Safety just became something we talked about. It wasn't taboo, and the more you talk about it, the more it's in everybody's mind, and then the culture just slowly changes.
So Nick, this is a normal discussion, like any other kind of discussion in your crews now? Is that how you're seeing that?
Yeah, like it's a focus every time we have an office meeting, and not a lot of serious injuries happening in the office, but safety is still the number one discussion. Like that's the number one point, that it's always on the agenda that we're going to talk about safety. Whether it's a long discussion or not really depends. The guys on site every day is part of just standard safety practices. It's your PSIs. Everybody is sitting and talking about safety every morning. It's just a discussion that happens. And certainly the young people, we've heard these comments already, grassroots. young people want to talk about it. We had somebody come for a work experience, and that was her number one concern when she interviewed with us, is what is your guys' safety? She was worried about getting hurt on the workplace. So
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. And I'm going to throw it to you, Colin. I went to just put a little twist in there, partly because I know a little bit about your company and kind of some of its roots in taking on riskier projects that somebody might say, oh, this is maybe a high risk, and then de-risking it as a strategy for its success. I wonder, from your perspective, again, seeing the shifts in, attitudes and adoption practices and if there's been ups and downs along that, but where do you see this continually to continue to change? Is there an opportunity for it to change further? Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think there's always room for improvement. We've come such a long way, as sort of everybody has indicated already, but there's still miles and miles to go. Janis sort of mentioned it earlier. Nick touched on it. There's been such a change in mentality, and the way I looked at it is cuts and bruises used to be just being, that was part of working in construction, right? Janis said it earlier that we want to send people home the same way that they came. And that's exactly the same way that they came. That's not without a broken arm. That's without a cut finger and without a bruised arm or whatever that is. So I think that's just that change in mentality helps change the culture a little bit, which is what we've seen. The other thing, tying it back to leadership, the openness of leaders and just how those people are leading, going back to the last question, the openness of them to accept those suggestions from people in the crew and involving others in those discussions, and really using teamwork and a teamwork approach to, like you talked about risk. That's what safety is all about, is taking those safety risks out and doing things that don't put people at risk when they're working out in the field. Another thing that sort of tied to that is not just coming up with those plans to de-risk the projects, but also when they're out in the field, the looking out for each other and the peer-to-peer guidance and assistance. And not saying that 30 years ago people didn't look out for each other from a safety perspective, but there's a lot more chatter about that, and there's a lot more talk about that. So that's in people's mind when they're working. It's not necessarily just about the task at hand. It's also looking around at your surroundings, and that's not just the surroundings, but it's the other people around you, and how that works into everybody's day-to-day work. And the one other thing I've seen that I think has changed the culture is the younger people that are coming into our site. Before, you just came off the street and jumped into construction, no training, no anything. Now younger people are coming into our organizations and onto our sites with training already, so they come with an expectation of a safe work site, and that's maybe the first thing on their mind, because they've taken the safety training. Then the first thing they do when they come to site is get orientated and talk about safety for half an hour or an hour. So then as soon as they step on site, they've got a different mentality, and I think that's helped change the culture a little bit as well.
Great, thank you. Before I go to the next question, which to do with the recruitment and green talent, and some people have mentioned that, but I had a question in the box that came in, and if you could see it there, I'm going to kind of leave this open to those who want to respond to it. But the panel's thoughts on Robbie's comments on making safety a reimbursable cost in the construction industry, something that's factored into your bidding process, and how do you go about making that? Three of you are in that formal bidding processes in the commercial industrial sectors, and I'm certain you've got some strategies on how you might approach that, and so I kind of leave it. I'm going to throw that out on the floor here, and offer anyone who'd like to maybe jump in first on that.
I can jump in. I'd only caught a portion of Robbie's comments, but I look at it as it already is. Like, if you're not including safety as part of your estimate and part of your bid, in a lump sum environment, I did hear Robbie's comments at the end about stipulated price, and that maybe trying to move away from that model a little bit. But quite frankly, we're going to be in that model for a long time, and that's always going to be a part of our industry. But if you're not including safety as part of your estimate, you're behind the 8 ball. And if you're not including in the estimate, I think just the mentality of people looking at the leaders in your organization, looking at the estimate and seeing allowances for safety on the estimate gives them the impression that it's important and we need to do it. If it's not there and people are looking at, okay, how do I make my budget? How do I get to the number that we put in the estimate and that the leaders in our organization want to hit, and they don't see safety there? Is that a message that you're sending them that says we don't care about safety and you gotta find money somewhere else to pay for safety? Or are they just going to say push safety to the side? I don't think that's right. So I think it is a reimbursable cost, and we're all hopefully including that in our estimates already.
Gotcha. Janis or Nick?
Yeah, I think for a lot of the projects we're already bidding on, there's that baseline of safety requirements. Like Colin said, it's already a part of our estimated costs already, and has been for us 5 to 7 years, and it's a part of doing business, and it's not something ever considered to when you're looking to see how you can get your price down. Safety is just it's a baked in part of the install method. And it's just not a consideration for something that you're looking to cut or withhold.
So you're seeing this something that's really integrated into your business model today. And
it's something you can't pull out. And like I'll be honest, we don't view safety as a big cost when you look at savings on your WCB premiums for being safe, not having incidents. The cost to not be safe, it's not the cost to be safe, it's what's it going to cost you if you aren't. Like you just can't afford to not be safe. It's not even a consideration. So and planning in the morning, part of safety, we're organizing your day. You're more efficient by stopping, thinking about your tasks, thinking about how you do it safely. It's the whole planning process that keeps you efficient. And even if safety wasn't a requirement on projects, I don't see that process for us ever changing.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you. Great question. And thanks to the crowd for posing it. Can I pivot to the recruitment challenges that everybody has, and not just in our industry, but in other industries have some of the same challenges. And frankly, we're competing for talent in each other's pools. and so that's a real thing. We also recognize that we are going to likely have a higher percentage of green talent coming into our businesses. And so kind of interested, and maybe I'll start with you, Stu, on this question as well, because I'd like to kind of get an industry level perspective, and then I kind of get folks who are operating, having to live it. What do you think that we need to do as an industry to not just start to say it broadly, to attract, to help retain new workers, and then prepare them so that they're well prepared for the site?
Well, I've got two kind of opposing thoughts on this one. The first thought is, it kind of goes without saying, creating a more favorable work environment where people can continue to advance their skills, can work in a safe environment, continue to have opportunity in front of them, are always going to be key recruitment strategies that some organizations will embrace more than others. And those who are prepared to invest in their investment, are going to win the recruitment war that is in front of us. My opposing viewpoint to this is when you look at the numbers, for example, generated from Build Force Canada, in terms of the construction sector, for the residential sector across Canada, in Saskatchewan, and right down here in Regina. The shortage of skilled workers it just seems like Mount Everest at times. The numbers are just so profound. And so I see real challenges in terms of the industries being able to meet that capacity. And that's going to really require some real change in thinking. So part of that is going to be the efforts that, many organizations have done around recruitment. But I think at the very same time, and especially in terms of the residential sector, new types of building science and technology is going to have to happen. I mean, the one thing about the residential sector, it has not maybe had the disruptive technology or innovation that other sectors have had across the economy around the world and here in Canada. But I do think that is in front of us, that we're going to have to find ways of constructing homes with new technologies. That is going to require less specialized trades in the same manner that we see it today.
Great point, Steve. Just your comment about the incorporation and technology. Nick referred to last year's panel that had Brian Barber and Wayne Morski on it, and Brian spoke specifically on that point about that our industry has not made the same kind of productivity gains that other industries have by the use and incorporation of technology, and that's an area that is something we're going to be paying more attention to, and that's likely where the next set of opportunities are. So if for those who haven't seen that, it is available on our YouTube channel from last year, and if you do the Construction Safety Leadership Conference 2021, you'll see a panel of Brian Barber and Wayne Morski, and both of them cover the topics that both Stu and Nick have referred to. For the rest of you, because you're operators, you're managing complex projects, bringing in, looking to try to find new talent, trying to retain your talent, help them grow. What do you see in terms of the challenge, opportunity, the things that you need to do as leaders in your companies? And Nick, it looks like you're chomping on the bit already, so I'm going to let you. I just threw you out there, but Nick, if you wouldn't mind maybe kicking us off from there.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, when we had that person coming in for the work experience, safety was a priority to them, and we're finding that the top dollar isn't necessarily the driving factor for employees looking for their new home. It's the package, and safety is definitely high on that list. So I do like the programs. I think Colin referenced this earlier, Regina Skills and Trades. We're seeing lots of people come into our business through that program, and they're already coming with some basic training, definitely lots of safety training, safety orientation. So it's continuing, I guess, continuing to offer that whole package is one of the strategies we're taking.
Great. Thank you. Janis?
I will admit it is going to be a little bit of a struggle here, especially this year. It is a struggle finding people and things like that, but they are out there. We just have to kind of keep working. A big one is also employee retention, and probably one of the biggest successes is been growing people from within. So bringing those newer ones to the industry and just kind of getting into it and working with them and getting them into the program if they're interested in that, into different programs, whether it be some serving, some safety, some QA/QC, getting that extra education with them, get that skill level up and keep growing them within your company. That's honestly, it's going to be one of the better ones to kind of get people mentoring those new ones coming in also.
Wonderful. I would take from that, Janis, the opportunity of working with folks who are inside your company is the relationship and understanding what type of person they are and you know, what their skills in terms of the emotional intelligence that was mentioned right off the top and how that can apply in your business. So thanks, Colin.
Yeah, very similar.
Great name, by the way. So your mother picked a great name.
Distinguished by an extra L, right? Yeah, very similar to what Janis said, but on a little bit of a different tune is on the retention side anyways, is building a culture, not necessarily just around safety, but around everybody in your business feeling like they're part of a family. And that's something that we really push for. It's one of the corporate values at Westridge. And I know of many of the other companies that work in the construction industry in Saskatchewan, it's the same. And when you feel like a family, you can't leave your family, right? So that really I think helps retain employees. I'll echo what Janis said, that we're going to be in one here with finding people in the construction industry. We're not alone in our industry. That's across several different industries, and like you said before, Colin, we're going to be competing with those other industries to bring in people. I think the industry associations, both Stu and Colin, you're part of that. There's several other construction industry associations along with the industry itself, the companies that are operating. We all need to work together, and we need to try to find a way to show our young people that a career in construction is safe, rewarding, high paying, and just has so much opportunity. A career started in the field in construction, a lot of people love that and can end their career in the field, but it also opens up so many more doors, just like Janis was indicating before, to many other great careers as well that are also safe, rewarding, high paying, and the construction industry is just so awesome. You get to see so many different things, and you get to experience different things. You get to see different parts of the city, the province, the country, the world, if you really want to. It just opens so many doors. So I think if we find a better way to tell our story, I think that'll be really good. But we got to start telling that now, and that's not going to be a short-term solution. That is definitely a longer-term solution, but it's something that we definitely should start now. We went through this 10 years ago. I remember being involved in several conversations about this then, and that was when we were starting to tell our story, and then the industry in the province sort of took a little bit of a downturn, and we stopped telling that story, and I think that's part of the reason we're in the situation we're in now. But I think it's definitely more of a province-wide, countrywide, and global problem that we're going to continue to see and going to continue to have to work through.
Great, yeah. Thank you, Colin. And there's the mention of being able to tell our story, collectively, to be able to. Our biggest influence in terms of young people is through their parents and what their parents' perception of various industries or opportunities are, and if we're able to demonstrate that, hey, there's great financial opportunity. It can be very safe. There's so many interesting things you could do, and from so many different aspects. That's really where our long-term success is, and particularly in this province. We've got about 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so here before we wrap up, and so I want to give a bit of an opportunity for you, if you'd like to, just closing thoughts, but any advice that you would offer to current leaders in construction or future leaders in construction, and whether they be right in your own shop or those who are thinking of maybe they've worked in the field or maybe want to step into a different role in the future. Any thoughts? And Nick, if I can, I picked on you last time. I'll pick on Janis this time.
I think just if you're excited about something and you're interested in something, take advantage of it. Try and go after it. Don't be afraid. Take the leap. again, the big thing, and we stress this again with all of our people, take pride in what you're doing. Always take pride in what you're doing and be excited about what you're doing. We are in a great industry, and it's a fun industry. It's exciting, it's scary, it's frustrating, but it is a fun industry. And I think I could probably say for all of us, the days we really enjoy what we're doing, and we're extremely again proud of what we can offer at the end of the day to our owners. So again, take the leap, get excited, and just enjoy.
Thanks, Stu.
I've really enjoyed the comments today, Colin, from Janis, Colin, and Nick. Some really great perspectives. When I think about it from an association perspective, I think one of my takeaways today has been a good reminder that the discussion around safety and safety leadership, which 13 years ago when I started with the association, was an awkward conversation at times, and it's not awkward today. I mean, it is part of the normal language. And so where I think there is now, that takes us to the next opportunity, is to really be able to start to drill down in these areas. I believe in the data, collection. It gives us the ability to really start to focus on, much more the very specific injuries, and risks that are happening, and to really start to zone in on those. And again, so there should be or potential for new opportunities to really take this to the next level. And I encourage not only our industry but our own association and your association, Collins, and others, to potentially rally around that point in the future. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Stu. Colin.
Yeah, very, very similar sentiments from me. It's be a sponge, right? Like new people in the industry, and even those that have been in the industry for a long time, you can never stop learning, right? There's always something out there. That's what's so fun about our industry, is no day is the same, and we can always push to know more and be better, and so it's do that. It's find a mentor and just get sponge off of them for as long as you can, and then at a certain point become a mentor to somebody else, and let them sponge off of you for a while. The other thing I really look at is I often say that we're sometimes more in a communication industry than we are in a construction industry. Communication is so important. There's so many moving parts in a construction project being done by so many different people. If you're a great communicator, that's both sides of communicating, speaking and listening, you're going to be successful. So really concentrate on your communication skills, because it's the top of the, you'll never find the top of the mountain, because you'll always continue to be better and do better. Enjoy the ride. It's an awesome industry, awesome people, so rewarding. So just go and enjoy it. And lastly, give back to your industry, give back to your community, whatever you can do with, it's not just money, right? It's time. Give your time somewhere. I think that's extremely important. Being so involved in industry associations over the years, that's been some of the most rewarding things I've done in my career, and it's been also the area where I've built the best relationships. I know Janis and Nick very well through our involvement in associations, and I really value the relationships that I've built over the years through those avenues. So no, it's awesome. Enjoy the ride.
Wow, fantastic! Especially your comment about we're probably more in the communication industry than anything else. So thank you, Nick. You get to wrap this up for us, man.
Yeah, like I find it awe-inspiring how we can build a facility, complicated facilities, and make it look easy and routine, and pile it on where no one's getting injured performing. The tasks are inherently dangerous, and it's through everybody's effort, and we're going to pile on to the communication comment, and that communication that lets these things happen and make it look easy, routine, and without incident. I'm kind of excited to see where new technology is going to take us in terms for communication. between how, I don't know whether it's drones play a part or if there's, personal tagging that communicates with heavy equipment to make sure that, possibly you get warnings so nobody gets hit by powered mobile equipment. And even just the shared cloud communication that's going to happen on sites that lets you share all that information, all that data, changes on drawings, everything so seamlessly is going to be exciting. And then, being a mentor is obviously extremely important, especially on a safety front, and making time to talk to those interested about safety, sharing those stories, is extremely satisfying, as Colin mentioned, and especially giving back to your associations and telling your story. We all have unique stories, and telling those at an industry level, at events like these is extremely helpful, and hopefully it attracts more people into our industry because it's exciting. We do new things every day. We do fantastic projects, and it's great to have the tangible thing that we get to see when we're done. And I love driving through the city and pointing to a building to my kids that, your dad worked on this project. Your dad's working here. I was involved in this, and getting to tell stories about all the unique, fun things that happened during that construction. So it's special. I don't know that you get that anywhere else.
This has been great. I want to thank each of you for cutting into your day and giving us this time. Because I know your operations and I understand Stu's world as well, and managing association, the wheel never stops turning. I thank you because it's you're able to offer us not just your expertise but and perspectives, but really the invisible communication that shows that this is really a tightly knit industry where people get to know each other, they get to work together and establish, and that how much that's important to you personally and professionally. And so thank you for sharing your thoughts on this. I think there's this recording will be a good one for folks to go back to after today. In terms of networking opportunities, hopefully if you're able to, for some of you, be able to see you later on in the day. But if not, I thank you so much for your time. And I think Kelly's waiting in the wings. I will hand things back to her. And again, thank you very much for everyone for being part of today.
Thank you, Colin.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Facilitating, Colin.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you to all the panelists for that engaging discussion.